Brown-Toussaint. At the center of the moral life and our moral imagination are the great models of resistance, the great stories of those who have said no. And so we've talked a lot in the semester already about people who resist large systems, the Enrons of the world, governments, denominations. When the individual is in and part of a larger bureaucracy, does he or she have an obligation to become a whistleblower, to speak truth to that power, even if she or he is risking their own well-being? And so that's the first question, how you reflect on advising future pastors, leaders, bishops, nonprofit leaders, educators, on the moral responsibility of the individual conscience when they detect something is going awry in the institution or its values are not properly set.
Understand that?
Yes.
Well, that's a complex question, and I'll try to answer it partially in my opening comments. Just point out that each one of us, when you graduate or when you get a family or when you get settled or when you get a church or an assignment, whatever, will be deprived of a great deal of the freedom that you have now as a student. You'll be bogged down with obligations to your employers or maybe to your spouse or to your families, and your stability in life will be one of the most important things for you to consider. And to speak out publicly against what your own corporation is doing or what your own church is doing or what your own community is doing is a very difficult personal thing to do. It requires a lot of courage. And all of the whistleblowers that were mentioned here spoke out against something that was going on within their organization, within the FBI or within a major corporation. And as you know, even in recent years, I would say since President Obama came in office, we've had more persecution for whistleblowers in the government than ever before. More people have been arrested than before. And although he promised when he was running for office that it would be a more open society, now the value of secrecy has become a dominant factor in life. So I don't think there's any doubt that that this is always an important thing to do. But when you get into your life commitment on a permanent basis later on, then you have, I think, an opportunity at least, maybe an obligation, to look around you and say, what in my own church, what in my own community can I do to improve the lot of people who are lonely or abandoned or deprived in some way or suffering? And that would require stirring of his current prevailing situation and maybe the aggravation of somebody who has an investment in what's going on now. Or maybe he's very proud of what's going on now and doesn't want to see any criticism of something for which they were responsible before you got there. So I would say that no matter where you are in life, I happen to be 90 years old now, or many of you are in your 20s and so forth. But whenever you are in life, there is always, I think, a religious Christian obligation to try to improve the lot of the lives of the people around you, no matter how much it might be condemned or criticized or resisted by your fellow family members or your fellow Christians in a church or your fellow neighbors in a community. So that's what Jesus did. Jesus was always rocking the boat. He was always reaching out to unsavory people, as you know, lepers who were condemned by God, people thought, because of their sinfulness, or Samaritans who were looked upon as unsavory folks. So I think what Christ did is what all of us who are Christians need to do. I'm not saying I do this, but I'm telling you this is what you are.
Thank you, President Curry. Is there a question from the floor here? We can bring the microphone so we can record this. Thank you.
President, so glad to hear you. Just 2 weeks ago, I was driving down Georgia 400, and I got emotional. because NPR was saying that Pope Francis recognized it for the first time ever that Archbishop Oscar Romero did not die because of political, ideological reasons, but because of the gospel, his commitment to the gospel in El Salvador. I wondered if you have something to say about it.
Well, yes, I do. I hope that this means that, in a way, that Oscar Romero will be on the way to sainthood. Because this is the first step, I think, that Pope Francis took to single out Romero as a hero in the Christian world, whereas he was condemned by some as being more political than he was religious. But I don't think there's any doubt that Oscar Romero was a Christian hero. And by the way, the Catholic Church has wonderful attributes. I'm a great admirer of the Catholic Church. I sent Pope Francis a copy of my book. When I was on one of the night talk shows, I won't remember which one it was, somebody asked me, when would I consider ever being a Catholic instead of a Baptist? And I said, well, if I'm ever invited by, a Catholic priest who's a woman to be a member of a church, I will join. But I sent him a letter, and he responded quite quickly, and he told me that in his opinion, that in the near future, the women would play a much stronger role in the Catholic Church than ever before. And I've seen him do that. He set up a special committee, as you may know, to look into the abuse of children by priests. And one of the key members of his committee was a woman, very powerful. But anyway, to answer your question specifically, I believe that this is a long overdue recognition of the saintly nature of Oscar Romero, the fact that he was killed for political purposes, but he was not tainted with the brush of being a politician. He was acting on behalf of Jesus Christ.
Next question.
Mr. President, very good to see you. I just wanted to connect with you and Rabbi Leonard Bierman, who presented you that wonderful award. Just a great admirer of yours. So I was talking about the Middle East. I know that you're a man of hope. So can you talk a little bit about where you're hopeful about where we are in the Middle East?
Oh, in the Middle East. I was with you until the
I'm sorry, in the Middle East.
I was with you until the last two words, yeah. Well, the number one commitment of my life in international affairs has been to bring peace to Israel. And there's no way to do that without bringing peace and justice to the Palestinians. And this is a major commitment of the Carter Center. We have a full-time office, and have for many years, in Jerusalem and in Ramallah, in the West Bank, and also in Gaza. We have a full-time office in Gaza. And every week, I get a written report from my people in those three places about the latest developments and the opportunities that might still exist for progress in the Middle East. Right at this moment, I would say that the prospects for progress are very dismal. And because the Israeli government leaders, Netanyahu and people who are to the right of him, have decided, in my opinion, that they would take over the entire West Bank and East Jerusalem, all the way from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea, which I believe is the adoption of a one-state solution, which I think is a catastrophe. And I say that based on the statements made by several other prime ministers of Israel who agree with me. It is a catastrophe. But in the future, Israel will have to make a decision about what kind of nation they want to be. If they want to dominate the rapidly increasing number of Palestinians, then eventually they're going to face a point where the Palestinians will outvote the Jews in Israel. And then I know that John Kerry, when President Obama was inaugurated the second time, I went to Washington to attend the inauguration ceremony, and that morning, John Kerry and his wife spent the morning in the hotel room with me and my wife. He knew he was going to be Secretary of State, and he promised me that he was going to reopen the effort to bring peace to the Middle East, and he's done a heroic job, I think. And I was hoping that even this past year, when the process became more and more dismal, that John Kerry would take a final step, supported by President Obama, to say, okay, I have not been successful in getting the Israelis and the Palestinians to agree on my proposals, but this is my best proposal that they have rejected. And let the world see what Kerry and his advisors believe is a proper solution. And then let the Palestinians or the Israelis say, we're not going to accept it, which would be very difficult for them. But we have chosen not to do it. So I think the only way now to break the deadlock that exists, or the lack of any lock at all, between the Palestinians and the Israelis, is for the United States to let the world know this is what we believe is the best solution, which is not going to be liked by either side, and then let the two adversaries take the consequences of rejecting what's a fair and honest solution. That's what I think needs to be done. But I have no authority. Also, with no authority goes no responsibility.
Next question or two from women, please.
It's not a hopeless case. It's still. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir, and thank you. I'm in Dr. Franklin's class, and in reading White House Diaries, I was particularly struck, and I revisited several times, your time in Camp David with Begin and Sadat. And the question I have is about a personal formation piece within you. How the leader of the free world goes to the head of the Jewish people and is shuttling back and forth messages to the